Okay, so can I just check before I begin? Are there any questions regarding extracts or anything that you want me to dwell deeper in? Sorry? Any problems with the extract or anything? Yes or no? If not, I'll move along, right? Huh? No? Okay, All right, so for this particular case study, we are only going to look at three questions in particular, question A, B, and your D lah. All right, because questions C and E, you might not be able to answer them at this point in time. All right, so let's look at your first question, all right, using information in figure 2 as well as in table 1, compare the economic performance of Myanmar in Thailand in 2016. Okay, so when you see such a question, what's the first thing you need to do? Okay, you see this term, you know you need to look for similarity, if not your differences. Okay, so this question is worth how many marks? 3 marks. So this suggests that there must be at least 3 points. 3 points that you need to talk about. All right. Next thing you all need to be mindful of is, of course, the term economic performance. When you see this term economic performance, how should your answer be phrased? Or what approach should you be taking when you see this term economic performance? Sorry? The 4 macroeconomic goals. All right, your macroeconomic goals. And what are your macroeconomic goals? Your economic growth, sustainable economic growth, price stability, full employment. All right, and of course, there's the favorable BOP. But for this question, there's no need for BOP because there's nothing on BOP that is given to you. All right. Okay, so let us make use of figure 2 and table 1 to tell us what happened between the two countries, Myanmar and Thailand. All right, they specify a particular year, and this year that they are mindful or they want to be concerned of is 2016. Okay, so the set of values that you want to zoom into would be this set of values here. Okay, Myanmar, Thailand. So what can you say about the figure that is given to you? This is Myanmar, this is Thailand. Your numbers, they are given to you in what way, in what form? This is in percentage, and what is it showing us? GDP growth. It's showing us GDP growth. Okay, so what can you make about the economic performance? Myanmar better? Can I address this part about Myanmar better? Is that a fair statement for us to make? Is it fair for us to say Myanmar is better than Thailand? They're all in percentage. They're not in absolute value or anything. Okay, so you don't have much information towards that. Okay, but what we can say here is, what do you notice about the economic growth that they are actually experiencing? First, both they are positive. Positive will be your similarity. Positive here will be your similarity. What differences do you see? Do we need to talk about the rate or not? Yeah, also in this year, why are we talking about the rate? One is higher, one is lower. Okay, so that's the second difference. Okay, so first, you have positive economic growth. Both of them, they are experiencing positive economic growth. That's one mark. And Myanmar seems to be having a growth that is at a higher level compared to Thailand. That's our second mark. Okay, that's what we can gather at least from figure 2. All right, we are also asked to look at table 1. So let us look at table 1 as well. and see what we can make sense out of table 1. So just now we mentioned economic performance. We need to answer. We need to answer in what way? Your macro goals. So which set of data do we need here? Unemployment rate and my inflation rate. Okay. So what observation can we say about Myanmar and Thailand? Myanmar has higher inflation rate and unemployment rate. Yeah. Or you could phrase it the other way, that Thailand had a lower inflation rate and a lower unemployment rate. All right, so this is your third mark. Just now was the first two, and this is your third mark. This is the difference, yes. Yeah, sorry. I cannot hear you. Oh, go, please go. I don't wish to stop you. Yes. Need to code data, not necessary. All right. Any other questions? If you code, it's okay, but if you don't code, you don't get penalized. Because you are making sense of what you see. Right? Okay, I think Raju has yes. Why do you want to do it one by one rather than two at the same time? Or you just talk about one only? Economic performance, you must align it to your macro goals. So you cannot just say, oh, inflation rate is higher or just unemployment rate is higher. You want to talk about both, right? Because the question is concerned about that. Understand? Okay? So please, all right, let's look at the next question. All right, and right now the question and the requirement, is it the same as previous one? Different, right? Just now was economic performance. All right, now is standard of living. So when it comes to standard of living, what do we need to talk about? How do we phrase our answer? How does our approach differ? Material, non-material. Material, non-material. Okay? Just now we were aligning it to our macro goals. Now we are looking at material, non-material. So based on the data that's given to us, okay, what can we gather about material as well? Is it lower in Myanmar compared to Thailand? How do I see? Down here, what we have? GDP per capita at current prices, nominal or real? Current prices is nominal or real? This is nominal. For real is what? For real is constant prices. Okay, there are a lot of people having your own conversation. If you don't wish to attend, you are more than welcome to go back now. I have said it the last lesson. You don't want to attend, please get out of my class. Okay, I don't want to have to raise my voice because I have to overcome whatever conversations you are talking. If you don't have the heart to concentrate and listen, your door is wide open, please take your leave. All right, don't try to disadvantage those who are willing to learn, those who are participating in the class. You're making it a very unpleasant experience for both yourself and myself. Okay, I hope the message is very clear. You don't wish to learn, the door is open. You can just go. I don't wish to keep you back. You don't have to worry. I won't tell your city or anything. You can just go. Because you don't wish to learn, there's no point in me making you stay back. All right? I think that is the message. I want to make it very clear to you. All right? Okay, so these current prices here, the one that we are talking about, okay, is nominal terms. All right? Real, How do I know whether is it real or not? Real will be instead of current prices, the prices that they use will be constant prices. Because real, they use a particular year as the base year. So that year, the particular year's price will be used, and then therefore is known as constant prices. All right, all these current prices means the prices that exist in a particular period and time. So if 2007 they use 2007 prices, 2015 they'll use 2015 prices, 2016 they'll use 2016 prices. Okay. So down here, what we have is nominal GDP per capita. Can we at least make some reference towards standard of living? Can, right? We will make do with whatever we have. Okay. So what do we observe here between Thailand and Myanmar? Myanmar higher? Myanmar or Thailand higher? Thailand higher, right? Thailand had a higher per capita GDP. This is Thailand. This is Myanmar. I'm not sure which data you're looking at, but this is Thailand. This is Myanmar, and you can see that. Okay. Thailand generally had a higher per capita GDP. So with a higher per capita GDP, what does this tell us about standard of living? Material standard of living is likely to be higher. Okay, so remember the approach we have to do when we have a standard of living question: material, non-material. Okay, and for such a question, I think it's good that you actually define what standard of living is. Okay, and later on, if I have time to talk about your lecture test, okay, the definition question about standard of living, okay, quite a number of you didn't actually get it correct. All right, because some of you didn't remember the whole definition. If not, you actually mix things up. You talk about average well-being of an individual. Average well-being of an individual and well-being of an average individual is very different. Okay, so you need to be mindful that what we are talking about here is well-being of an average individual. Of an average individual, not average well-being of an individual. It's different. Okay? All right, because I saw a couple of students, your average is placed wrongly lah. For the lecture test, I was lenient enough, I still gave you the mark. All right, but I'm telling you, from BT onwards, we won't be lenient anymore. Okay? Because definition, either you have it, if not, you don't. It's no two ways about it lah. Okay? So, based on what we have here, GDP per capita, lower in Myanmar. Okay, please don't just straight away GDP per capita lower, you talk about lower material as well. Remember, we talk about GDP per capita being lower, suggests that as a result of that, purchasing power is lower. And the ability to consume goods and services is also lower. Alright, so please make sure you have this link in between. Don't just say straight away GDP per capita low, therefore material as well is low. Okay, what I say again, I'll say it again. All right, for your GDP per capita, if this value is lower, okay, what this suggests is that your purchasing power is presumably lower as well. And what does this mean? This means that your ability to consume goods and services is also lower. Therefore, suggesting that your material as well is lower. A lot of you, what you do is you just jump from here to here. A lot of you jump from here to here in your explanation. All right, but what we are looking for is really your ability to draw the link between the two. Explaining this, being representative of what this is. Okay, and because of this being lower, your ability to consume goods and services is lower. Remember, we talk about materials now being concerned about the quantitative aspect. Quantitative aspect means that we are concerned about how much they can consume. How much they can consume. If they can consume more, of course, higher material as well. If they consume lesser, then as well will be lower. Understand? Okay, so this is the point I'm trying to make. So please make sure you are clear about this. Okay, so figure 3, that's what we can see about material as well. Is this the end of our answer? What else do we need to talk about? Non-material as well. And where can we get non-material as well? Information about non-material. Table 1. Okay, if you look at table 1, what can we say about non-material as well between Myanmar and Thailand? Sorry? If you compare whatever is given to you, adult literacy rate, access to drinking water, infant water, blah, 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 all these various indicators, Myanmar seem to fare less as well as Thailand. They fare less as well, so they score lower. Because if I compare across, it's quite clear that Thailand had better indicators for the following. So this suggests that Myanmar has a lower non-material as well. Okay, so that's the third mark. Any question? No, So having said all of this, okay, we are asked to comment on the validity. So this now was more of like your thesis. This is sort of like your antithesis. Okay, having said all those, how valid is your statement? Is it 100% confirmed, guaranteed, valid? No. What are some limitations or what are some issues with whatever statements that you have made earlier? Okay, income distribution, we can talk about that later. What else? We can talk about this. What else? Just now we mentioned what we had here. What kind of value? This is nominal, right? Best is your real GDP per capita in PPP, right? But what do we have? We only have nominal GDP per capita. So what should we require in order to make sure that it's a bit more accurate? Real GDP per capita. So what do we need? We need inflation data, the inflation rate data. Okay, we need to take into account whatever changes in your GPL. Okay, you want to talk about exchange rate also possible. Okay, that is for PPP lah. But even if we don't know about that, then what else? Material, we find fault with the fact that we don't have inflation rate. Non-material, anything to find fault with? Whatever information we have there, is it enough? Comprehensive enough or not? So you can talk about income distribution. Okay, other than income distribution, what other non-material indicators? Sorry? Leisure time. Okay, we can talk about leisure time. Underground economy. Okay, you can talk about that not being accounted for. The underground economy. Okay, those transactions they may not have been accounted for. Okay, fair enough. Okay, leisure hours. Yes. They gave inflation rate, yes, but what do we have in terms of what we had was we had nominal GDP per capita. So the best indicator is real GDP per capita. So with the information that we have, we are not able to translate or convert our figures into real GDP per capita. You get what I mean? Okay. Okay. So we need to take into account inflation. All right, because what we are given is only in current prices, and this may not be adequate. Okay, especially if Thailand's inflation rate is much higher than Myanmar. If that was the case, then real GDP per capita for Thailand would be relatively lower. Although we know based on the data and everything, it's not the case. Okay, Myanmar actually had higher rate of inflation. But nevertheless, we still want to be 100% sure. And therefore, that's why we say that this could be one of the concern or one of the limitation. Another concern or limitation is the fact that we don't have income distribution. Okay, because this income distribution can tell us how evenly distributed your income is amongst your population. Okay, and it will be more conclusive about the SOL in Myanmar and in Thailand. This one should be non-material. Income distribution, please spell under non-material. Material is really only on your purchasing power and your ability to consume goods and services. Income distribution, you plug it under non-material. Okay, and I think the last part, like what we mentioned, leisure hours or pollution index. Okay, how whatever is given might not be sufficient. And then you probably want one of these. And then elaborate on why you need this. Why do I need leisure hours? Because leisure hours will give me an indication as to can be used as a proxy for you to deduce about the possible stress level. Okay, because if I got more leisure hours, I supposedly should be more relaxed because I get to spend my time. I have a good work-life balance. Okay, I spend my time with my family, loved ones. Okay, and therefore I will have a slightly more positive environment. Okay, therefore all this suggests not enough. Sorry? Because when we talk about material, we are concerned really about your ability to consume goods and services. Income distribution, why I link it to non-material is because income distribution, if your income distribution is severely apart, okay, it's severely apart because if you are very close, if your Gini coefficient is very low, it means that income distribution is slightly more even. All right, but if it's very uneven or very unequal, okay, what this would bring about are social problems, social issues like crime. Okay, whereby if you have really the very very rich and the very poor stratification, I think those who take job or what, I don't know if it's part of job or what. Okay, but at least social issues will come about, social problems, social tensions will come about, and all this can bring about impacts on your non-material as well. Okay? Okay? Alright, okay, I'll move on to the last question for this case study. Alright, okay, so with reference to extract 7 and using ADAS diagram, the different impact on Singapore and Vietnam when UK became the first country in history to exit the EU. All right, so if we look at this, all right, we are asked to look at the impact of Brexit. Okay, what they are talking about here is basically your Brexit lah. Okay, and we want to see the impact on Singapore. We want to look at the impact of Brexit on Vietnam. And then from there, we want to see what's the difference between the two. Okay? So what will be the Brexit impact on Singapore based on extract 7? Exports decrease, demand for exports will decrease, and that will cause export revenue to fall. X here is export revenue. Please don't write X as exports. Export revenue, X is your export revenue. M is your import expenditure. Okay? So why do we see export falling? Why do we see export falling? Down here they say more than 41%, okay, to EU destined to UK. And main branches to suffer from a likely economic downturn include business process outsourcing, IT services, and professional service exports. So these are the so-called exports that Singapore export to UK. And because of the economic downturn in UK, what are we going to see? Economic downturn is what? Your GDP decrease. With GDP decreasing, how will the UK citizens react? Incomes lower, purchasing power lower, therefore demand for imports or demand for exports from Singapore will decrease. And that's why my export revenue decrease. You got to explain this part. Don't just straight away say export revenue for Singapore will decrease. You get what I mean or not? You got to talk about how the global economic the economic downturn in UK will mean that GDP in UK fall. GDP in UK fall means that the incomes of UK citizens fall. Purchasing power as a result fall. And therefore, the demand for imports from the UK perspective is they are buying imports. From Singapore's perspective, it's Singapore's exports to UK. Demand for imports will fall, and therefore Singapore's export revenue is likely to see a fall, assuming ceteris paribus. Okay? Is that only the impact in Singapore? What else? Is there anything else? What's the positive impact? Which area, which aspect? Investment likely to increase. So although export revenue will fall, they also expect that Singapore, what's the thing that attract the investors to come in? The steady environment. Okay, the steady environment is likely to attract investments to come in. Okay? So this is what will happen to Singapore. What about Vietnam? How about Vietnam? Export revenue likely to decrease also. Why? Down here they say importing what kind of produce they send over? Agriculture, your rice, your food products, processed foods, as well as mining product. So down here they suggest that while it might suffer from a negative pushback from a slowing UK market, long-term picture is a much different one. So short-term export revenue will decrease. Okay? Long-term, what will happen? Huh? Which one? Which one increase? Export revenue will increase. Is it? Read carefully. Okay, down here. As they are challenged by lower purchasing power, what will the producers do? Cheaper sourcing and production location. And what can Vietnam offer? With its abandoned labor force, wages in Vietnam is likely to be lower. So cost of production likely to be lower. So it's likely to see investments go up. Likely to see investments go up in Vietnam. Okay? So this one short term, this one long term. Then the question now is, after analyzing, after deducing what the impacts are, what's the difference? Do you have difference? Got difference? What's the difference? What is the likely difference? This one decrease, this one decrease, this one increase, this one increase. The extent will be due to the reason as well. Because if you look at the paragraph suggests to you the possible extent that could happen. Okay, why do I say so? Okay, if you recall, just now when we were talking about Singapore's impact, what kind of exports are Singapore exporting? Your services. And a lot of these services are your outsourcing, business process outsourcing, IT services, professional service exports. What kind of exports are Vietnam exporting? Agriculture, processed food, as well as mining products. Same type or not? So the impact is of course will be different as well. So it's really up to you, okay, for you to deduce which one will fall more, which one will fall less. But of course, as you say which one fall more, which one fall less, you got to explain and substantiate why. Okay, so what is one possible approach that we can use? Yeah, we're going to use ADNS, but what is one approach to talk about which country is likely to see a greater fall? Okay, if you say Singapore likely to see greater fall, why? Okay, the type of exports that they export out are more expensive. Big ticket item, all these are services. It's not so much big ticket items. Because big ticket items are for goods, these are for services. Okay? So these services, remember, they are business process outsourcing, IT services, and professional service exports. Maybe with falling incomes, okay, this could become slightly more expensive compared to before. So that's why for them, maybe this one, they might look for somewhere else, maybe not Singapore, they might look for India or some other country, which can provide all this at a supposedly cheaper rate. All right, that's one way of arguing. Fair enough. What about all this type of products? Cheap, very cheap. So we can also classify them as what type of goods? Necessity. So the degree, your PED likely to be less than 1. PED likely to be less than 1. And because PED likely to be less than 1, the fall here will be smaller compared to Singapore's fall. Okay? So that's for the fall in X. What about the increase in I? Singapore, why Singapore investment will increase? Because of if investors value the steady environment, then of course they will come to Singapore. What about Vietnam? What type of investors will go to Vietnam? Cheap. Okay, low cost all right. Value for money Okay. And what type of production? Labor intensive. If you're looking for labor intensive one, definitely I come here. Because labor cost which side more expensive? Singapore, right? So if my one is very labor intensive, of course I will come here. So it really depends on what type of production. Okay, and what do you value more? Do you value the cost or the steady environment that you get? And that will determine the extent as well. Okay? So there's no one sure way of saying which is which. Okay, wait, how come I don't answer? Wait, my answer disappeared. Let me get the answer. Okay, the CSQ is shared between H2 and H1, so it's the same one. The answer is here. Okay, so in your introduction, what do you talk about? You talk about how both are said to be affected, exports and investments. Okay, I just want to clarify one more time. Investment, what kind of investment are we talking about? No, when we talk about investment in general, what kind of investments are we talking about? Building of factories, buying of your machineries. That's the type of investments we are talking about. I know in your general day-to-day life, you might use investment very loosely. Investment to you all might be buying shares, buying stocks. Right now, you all see this as investment. All right, but in econs, buying stocks, buying shares, we don't term it specifically as investments. The investments that we are talking about here are what firms actually undertake. All right, and they undertake these investments so that they can produce more. All right, so investments here, we are talking about buying of more machines as well as the building of factories. Okay, so please be very careful and very mindful of that. So down here, this FDI is your foreign direct investments. Okay, the investments that will impact both Singapore and Vietnam, it could be FDI, it could also be local investments. So it really depends. So impact on Singapore, because all these are what we are given. So just now I explained this part here about how there will be an economic downturn, and this will cause export services to fall as income falls. So X will fall. All right, and assuming ceteris paribus, we will also see an increase in investment. So what will we see on our ADAS diagram? AD will decrease first, and then this one, AD will increase back again. Oh, it depends on what you explain and what you, yeah, okay, it depends on what you explain. LR, AS will also increase. Okay, so please remember, I investment increase, AD will increase, RAS will increase as well. G, when G increase and this G is spent on infrastructure, your AD increase, RAS will increase as well. Okay, so you will get this diagram. AD decrease first. Then assuming that the AD increase is larger than the fall in AD, you'll move back out to AD3. Then the long term, AS1 to AS2. Okay? Please note this part here. Every time you have ADAS, you must always talk about what happened to GPL, what happened to RNY, and what happened to your employment level. These three, you must always talk about them. Because if you recall in your demand supply diagram, you always talk about what happened when you change equilibrium, right? What happens to P and what happens to Q. So likewise, you will talk about what happens to your GPL. You will talk about what happens to your RNY, your real national income. So I use AD1 move to AD2 as an example. So as AD decrease from AD1 to AD2, what happens to my GPL? GPL decrease. So you must say GPL decrease from P1 to P2. What happens to my RNY? It will decrease from Y1 to Y2. How about employment? How do I determine employment level? Employment decrease. Why? How do I determine employment level? I teach you. This is what you are capable of producing at full employment. YF. You all remember YF? So this means that this is the output you will get when you have all your resources fully employed. So the gap between where you are producing at and your full employment output level will suggest to you that this is the amount of what? Unemployment. Unemployment. This is where you have full employment. This is where you are currently employed at. So this level shows you the idea of unemployment. Okay? So since your Y1 decreased to Y2, the gap here becomes bigger. And therefore, employment is likely to decrease. Understand? Okay, now I use AD2 to AD3 as an example. What happens when I move from AD2 to AD3? My P2 increase to P3. My Y2 increase to Y3. And then my employment level should increase because the gap now becomes smaller. Understand? Very simple. That's what you need to do every time you use ADAS analysis. You need to talk about what happened to GPL, what happened to your RNY, and what happened to your employment level. Okay? Yeah. Right now I'm looking at this one because this is long term. So I look at AD1, then AD2, sorry, AD1 to AD2 first, then AD2 to AD3. Oh, this one is cut here, right? Oh, okay. So you talk about this AD increase plus this one shift out. Then you can use this. the second one. P3 is this one. P3 is your Y3. Okay? Your AD, because when your investment increase, your AD will increase, your LRAS also increase. So I missed out this step. I forgot to talk about the LRAS increasing as well. So you should take reference from this new equilibrium, where right now you have your AD increase and your LRAS increase. Understand? Okay, thanks for pointing it out. Okay, so this is for Singapore. What about Vietnam? Vietnam, same thing. Okay, but right now you substantiate why you say Vietnam fall more or fall less. Okay, this is one explanation whereby you can say that, oh, their goods are considered as inferior goods. All right, or you could say that they are basic necessity, like what we discussed earlier. So this will substantiate why Vietnam will fall more or fall less. This part here is talking about investments. All right, and because the cost here, and therefore they deduce that your investments will increase in Vietnam more significantly. Okay, because at the end of the day, they are concerned about low cost production. All right, so I should increase more. So overall, AD in Vietnam likely to increase more than AD3 that you had for Singapore. So same diagram for Singapore and Vietnam, except probably you want to shift your curve out more, your AD more, your your AD more, your AD when you fall is maybe also fall lesser, because Vietnam one we presume them to be necessity, so the fall in AD is smaller, the increase in AD for investment is larger. Your LRAS can also be shifted out more as well. Okay. So while both will likely see an increase in AS more significant in Vietnam due to the potentially larger flow of FDI. Both will see fall in X but a rise in I. Okay, overall impact uncertain. In the case of Vietnam, likely that AD will rise because the increase in I is larger, because the fall in X is smaller. Okay. All right, any questions for this? No, Okay, if not, then maybe I can use the remaining time to just touch on your lecture tests. The important ones, because if I don't go through, I scared you'll make the same mistakes. So if you have it now, quickly take it out. I will use maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Definition one, I just highlight what's important, what are the keywords that you're missing. Okay? Okay? So define real GDP. Quite a number of you only define GDP. What I remember, a lot of you define GDP. But some of you, even when you define GDP, you miss out on certain terms. What are these important terms? We are looking out for monetary value or market value. Either market or monetary value. A lot of you miss out on this term final. Because we are not just looking at goods and services, we are looking at the final goods and services. Because some of these goods and services, they are used as intermediate parts for your final goods and services, and we don't want to double count. So when it comes to GDP, what we are looking out for is really only the final goods and services. All right, please note, final monetary value, geographical boundary of a country, usually in a year. This part here for the part about real, adjusted for inflation. So some of you just define GDP alone, which is not good enough. Okay? Can? All right, now I move on. Okay, this one was also very poorly done. Okay, I remember in tutorial we did something like that as well. They ask you, compare the change in real GDP. What is this? Real or nominal? Nominal. It's very clear. So if they ask you, compare the change in real GDP, can I use whatever value here? But some of you use it. How do I get real GDP? I need to minus away inflation rate. All right, and if you go and minus away inflation rate, these are the values you get. Okay, so if these are the values you get, then well, how can you compare the change in real GDP between China and South Africa? What do you see? One is positive, one is negative. Positive, negative what? Economic growth. But the question is change in real GDP. So how should your answer be? Increase. Increase at a decreasing rate. That one, the rate part, we can talk about it later lah. Okay, so by right, you should say China generally increasing, South Africa generally decreasing. That's the first mark. Second mark will be the rate. All right, so the rate is that China increasing at a decreasing rate, South Africa decreasing at an increasing rate. So this one quite poorly done, even though we did it in tutorial. I think tutorial we did something like that. Because some were able to answer, some were not. And at least half of you, half of the class didn't get this correct. From what I remember. Yes? There's no similarity. There's no similarity. Yeah. Because we are looking at this one. One is positive, one is negative. What similarity is there? Nothing. I cannot say anything similar about that. No need. Okay, by now you should not be asking such question. If you look at our answer, data or no data, unless question specifically asks for data. If not, you don't put data, it's fine. Have you seen us penalizing you for not having data? No. So far, we have not done that. Unless question require you to do so. All right, so that question should not come up. Because earlier, when we did the earlier question, you all also asked, need data or not? Need data or not? Data is presented to you. What are you being tested on? You're tested on data interpretation. What you make sense out of this data. Okay? This one we did in tutorial as well. Why any two indicator might have been a concern to Singapore government. So what are the two indicators? Inflation rate and is it unemployment? 2015, is it possible to get 0% or not? A lot of you put unemployment. I put a cross there. But you still say unemployment now. I don't know why. What should it be? So inflation rate and real GDP. Should I use this value? What should I use? And down here we already give you real. We got extract one. What did it say about this GDP growth rate? Biggest growth since 2009, when they were hit by the global financial crisis. So back in 2009, there was at least a reason why they hit such low level. But now, is there any global financial crisis? So why are they at this level? So that's why they should be concerned. Although GDP is increasing, but why is it 2%? Why is it slowest? So it's cause for concern, right? Okay? Not the unemployment rate. Please don't talk about the unemployment rate. And the inflation, the deflation, the negative inflation that you see. Why is it of concern? Because down here, no incentive, demand will fall, and then no incentive for business to invest. And because of that, AD will fall. All right, so these are the two reasons. Okay, so there'll be concern about whether GDP growth rate, although it is still positive, it's 2%, but whether this 2% will still be positive or not. Because it could also mean that the slowdown could turn into a negative economic growth. All right, the slowdown, the increase in AD is slower, but this could also mean that it could be a sign of things to come, that your AD, instead of increasing, your AD might actually fall in the next time period. So that's why this is cause for concern, because what this will happen, or what this will cause is pessimistic outlook. All right, the negative inflation, all right, when they cut back on consumption, when there's deflation, essentially consumers will cut back on consumption. This will cause C to fall, I to fall, AD to fall. RNY as a result will fall. Okay? All right. What do you notice about change in income distribution? Question is in terms of income distribution. Some of you answer in terms of Gini coefficient. That's why you lose this one mark. It was very silly of you if you answer in terms of Gini coefficient, because the question is asking you in terms of change in income distribution. So what can we say about income distribution? Gini coefficient increase. So income distribution increase. Income distribution worsen, or became worse off lah. Okay, or it widened or it became worsened. Okay, so very straightforward. Define standard of living, average person, well-being of an average person, not average well-being of a person. Some of you had that circle. I think I gave you 1 mark here. Okay, but I really don't want you to make the same mistake again. That's why I highlight this. Okay, and then second last question, non-material standard of living. Based on this, what can you say? Improve or worsen? Worsen. All right, how do I know? Because down here they say life expectancy decrease. All right, so that's what you want to talk about. Okay. Last question. This part here very badly done. Okay, I was still very linear. I try to give you as much as I can, but I just want to highlight to you. Okay, whatever figures that we were given, we can always convert it into real GDP. And you got to convert it into real GDP if you have it. If you have it, convert to real GDP like what we did. And after converting, you want to then infer what happened to your material as well. If it's negative, it means that your GDP per capita, your GDP decrease, purchasing power decrease, material as well decrease. So like what we see here, they saw negative real GDP growth. Although nominal GDP growth was still positive, which I think a lot of you all fall into that trap. Okay, because a lot of you didn't convert it into real GDP. You use nominal. That should not be the case. Because we gave you the ability to go and convert, but you don't go and convert. You talk about nominal, then you talk about, however, inflation is not taken into account of. The data is given to you, why don't you take that into account? Correct? So please be careful of that. Unemployment rate, it decreased. Some of you, you talk about unemployment rate. Okay, this unemployment rate, you got to link it to non-material, the stress and the anxiety level. Some of you are still using it for material. Although I specifically told you, unemployment, we want you to explain in terms of non-material. I still see a lot of you talking about in terms of material. Okay, please change. Explain in terms of non-material, talk about the stress level and anxiety level. Okay. I'm going to end soon. Okay, this part here, antithesis, certain things are missing. All right, talk about missing economy, the underground economy. Okay, a lot of them, they are doing their own food crop DIY project, which are not accounted for. Therefore, it might be underestimated. All right, although there's a fall in real GDP, there might not necessarily be a fall in material as well, because a lot of these, they are unaccounted for. Population size. Value, the value given to you is real GDP growth. It's not per capita. It's not sufficient for you to deduce because population size is not constant. Income distribution, you need the Gini coefficient to give you more information about the non-material aspect. Okay, pollution level, life expectancy as well. Okay, so same things that we were talking about all along. So conclusion. Please, when you have such a question, you need to score the evaluation mark. And how do I score the evaluation mark? Question here, whether is it sufficient or not. Please state whether is it sufficient or not sufficient. By stating so, you get 1 mark for evaluation. Because we need you to give that judgment. Okay? So what's your judgment? And substantiate your judgment, why you say so. Alright, so judgment could be not enough. Because a lot of things insufficient, because a lot of things are missing. Okay. All right. So I end here. So those who I asked you all to come and see me, please come and see me because I want to help you. All right. But if you don't want to be helped, same thing. You don't need to come now. All right. Non-material, non-material. Okay. I know just now it's stated as material here. I will go and change it.